Sometimes you say a long sentence and your child can repeat that, but you're not sure they really understand what they're saying. Or if you're reading a book with your child, it's a long story. Your child is able to read the book and even repeat after you, but when you ask them questions from the book, are they struggling? Hi, I'm Priyanka Evangeline, your internet speech language pathologist, and today let's talk about comprehension difficulties in Gestalt language learners. This phenomena is actually called comprehension masking. It happens because Gestalt learners are very verbal processors. What is verbal processing? When a child is learning language or when they are trying to understand the world or understand speech, they learn by repeating it. By saying it back, their brain is a little by little understanding what was there in that sentence. Learning by doing kids. That is, if you tell them, they don't really get it. But if you engage them and if you make them do that activity and teach them simultaneously, they will learn. Many Gestalt language learners are verbal processors or learning by doing processors. They are also called kinesthetic learners. Because they repeat everything you say, it looks like their expressive language is actually quite advanced. But you can still notice some gaps in their understanding and comprehension. You have to understand this. Language comprehension is very much tied to cognitive skills. And when I say cognitive skills, I don't just mean attention and memory. If your child can do visual card matching, if they can find what is different in a pattern, this is also cognitive, but it's a visual cognition, which is a separate domain. This area, this skill that is really important for your child in terms of comprehending language is called verbal comprehension or reading comprehension. Here's what you can do to support your Gestalt language learners who show comprehension masking. There are two main things I want you to understand. First one is called audio-visual pairing. So when you talk to your child, it is a completely auditory input. That alone may be very difficult for comprehension because remember how I told you, they are learning by doing kids. So you need to not just give the auditory input, but you should also give the visual input. What does this look like? So if you're in the park and you see some child climbing the slide, so you call your child and you say, oh, she's climbing the slide. Let's also go and try and take them there. Instead of just telling, there is a girl there, she's climbing the slide, you're pointing, you're showing, and you're also involving your child in it. So it's not just audio, but it's audio and visual. Another example is like if you say, oh, it's raining, then you open the window and you show the rain and you say it's raining. Or if you're going to say, let's go outside, immediately you have to open the door and then take the child outside, because you have to pair what you're saying and you have to pair it with an action or the relevant visual. Only then what you're doing is something called semantic mapping. Semantic mapping basically means semantic is meaning, mapping is understanding meaning. So understanding the relationship between words and their meaning. The second tip is to work on 2 or 3 step directions and sequences. I know what you're thinking. My child can visually sequence them. That's great. But remember, that is part of visual cognition. What we really need here is verbal cognition. Can your child explain the sequence? That's one. Second, can your child follow a sequence? So this is something that is very common I see in my assessment. If I ask the child, can you please keep this on the shelf and bring that toy? They could do one part of it and the parent will instruct them to do the second part. So this is actually not a true 2-step instruction. This is a 1-step instruction, because the child did one thing. They went to the shelf and then you have to tell, keep it there, or take that one, look there, take that one. So you're breaking a 2-step instruction into chunks. While this is good to teach your child understanding, it is also very important to teach them 2-step instruction to do it together, because this develops their working memory, and working memory is very important for language comprehension. You remember how I told you it's tied to cognition? So this part of cognition, which is called working memory, is very, very important for language comprehension. And how do you work on this is to use something called show and tell. So when you say go to the shelf, keep this book and take that toy, go with your child, keep saying it. Let's go to the shelf, let's keep the book, let's take that toy. So what you're doing is again, it's kind of similar to the first point, because you're giving the audio and you're showing the visuals. which is very similar, but you're going to do it in 2 or 3 step sequence and practice with your child instead of giving them that repeated instruction. Oh wait, don't forget to check out our Speakaroo and our Writearoo app. It is designed by me to help your child with their speech development. It's like speech therapy on your mobile. It will teach you and your child both on what skills to learn and how to talk. So I hope you learned really well in this video. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.